Hey everybody!
Hey, woo!
Even though this is April, this is the live show for our March pick for Interstellar Book Club, which was Andy Weir's Project Hail Mary. Woo! So we're going to talk about that today. We'll do like spoilers and non-spoilers. Non-spoilers first, obviously. Yeah. So
Yes.
everybody finished. Everybody finished this one.
Woo! We
Yes.
finished. We have
What did
fun.
everybody give it? I'm ready for a mixed bag.
I gave it 5 stars.
Okay.
Me too. It was like a 4.5 for me until the last chapter, and I was like, nope, this is a 5 for me now.
Okay. I give it a 5 as well.
I'm going for.
Okay.
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 What let it down?
Mm, a
Is
lot
it
of character.
spoilers?
It's kind of
Okay.
spoilery, mostly character related. Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know how to talk about that with being spoilery.
That's what I've
Okay.
seen a lot of people say, like bringing it down with some things with like characters, so doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Should we say what it's about? I guess. Yeah. So it's somebody detects like a kind of band around the sun that turns out to be bacteria or single-celled organisms that are feeding on sunlight and will eventually cause an extinction level dimming that will like lead into an ice age. And this is like spreading from star to star to star, except for one star, and the Earth sort of pools its resources to send to send a team of people to figure out why that star is still fine and to bring back the solution to that. I feel like there's so much that we want to talk about, but it's all going to be spoiler stuff.
Yeah. Can you
Has
really go
anybody
any
got any
more than that?
non-spoiler thoughts?
I really like just reading about all of the science in this, just coming from like a little bit of a science background. I thought it was just very fun and very enjoyable. So if you have even a tiny bit of a science background, I think it's very enjoyable. I don't know, it was just fun to read. It made my little science heart happy.
There's a lot of science. I feel like when it's really complicated science, part of me is like, how real is this? Because I don't know like how believable everything is because this science is way beyond me. Yeah, it was very sciencey.
I feel like there was enough base explanation for anyone who's not particularly that well versed into like what the different kinds of science that's happening there, that you can still enjoy it. And eventually it kind of comes to a place where it just becomes so normal because they're constantly trying so many different things. You just come to
Yeah.
accept it as a certain point. Like, yeah, I'm not even going to question this anymore. It's just
Mhm.
we're doing that thing. Go for it.
It's not inaccessible, I don't think.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Um,
And for me, I really like books with flashbacks. So this is like, I love this. It's because our main character like wakes up from a medically induced coma and doesn't remember anything, and then gets flashbacks, and I'm like, yes, give me
I'm
more.
kind of 50-50 on flashbacks,
Really?
because part of me is like, oh yeah, we get some background, but then part of me is like, we know what's going to happen.
Mhm.
Hmm.
So like, is there still tension?
I feel like Brandon Sanderson flashbacked me out. So I
Yeah,
don't
I'm so done with
go with
flashbacks now.
flashbacks. But I mean, but the reason why there were flashbacks in this makes sense.
It does make sense, yeah.
So
Mhm.
it was used really well, I
I
think.
feel like as I was reading them though, I was like, okay, but let's get back to the spaceship.
Mhm.
Um, would you guys say this is for a new person to sci-fi or someone who is well seasoned in sci-fi?
I feel like this is kind of new. I
Mhm.
feel like you could walk in here.
I
I
feel
guess.
like if you're a person that doesn't like science at all, though, like reading science stuff, that like this wouldn't be the book for you, though, because there
Yeah.
is a lot of like physics and stuff.
It is
I feel it's
super
like
plot
easy
driven.
written. Yeah, oh yeah, definitely plot driven.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're in it for the character development, there is none of that. That is a -2, and hence why I'm not giving it 5 stars. So
I
if
feel
you're
like
a character,
if the flashbacks were taken out, the characters would have been fine. I feel
I
like it
still
was
don't think it would
the
have been fine.
no. Okay,
No.
I can't wait to hear about this.
Yeah, I think if you like sci-fi movies in general and you can understand like the science like within those, I mean, an obvious example is The Martian, just because that's like clear, like obviously like his other work. But for those who maybe have seen The Martian, maybe didn't know that it was originally by like a book by Andy Weir, but really liked it, then yeah, if you like those kinds of movies, and again, I know it's because it's him, but those kinds of movies I think will definitely play into someone who would like a book like this.
Mhm.
It's a very actiony sci-fi, and I feel like it's very easy to read it quickly. Like it's a 400 something page book, and it's like 2 days it took
Didn't
me
feel like it.
because
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's so quick. Yeah,
It's just me because I'm a slow reader. It took me 3 days.
yeah. 3 whole days, God. Yeah, it's like super science driven. This one.
Yeah.
Trying to think of like non-spoiler stuff. 'Cause I feel like because in the blurb of this book, it deliberately doesn't say what this story is at its core.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so I feel like even saying that is a big spoiler, like what kind of sci-fi this is.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of glad I went into it blind.
Yeah. I
Mhm.
would definitely say go into it blind. It's very trope heavy in my opinion. As far as like you, all the people that you would usually cast in a science movie, like you have the overarching super organization, the government entity, the lowly person who's brought up to the top who didn't know they were a lowly person, but now they're not a lowly person. Like there's a lot of those characterized tropes happening.
Yeah.
So this is totally going to be turned into a movie. I just don't know when, but someone is going to pick this up.
100%. I feel like you wrote it to be a movie.
Right.
It feels like that easily. What else? Did we say? I mean, it's won a lot of like Goodreads awards.
Oh, has it?
I think that's really, it's won a lot of book awards, I think, or something. But I can totally see why. Because it's so easily digestible, and it kind of, I think it solidifies itself pretty easily as like a potentially classic sci-fi.
I think it's written in very modern language, but it felt like a very old story. Like this felt like Larry Niven, Jerry Pournelle, like classic sci-fi from like the 70s.
Yep.
So I feel like a lot of fans of this book are probably fans of classic sci-fi.
I can see that. Yeah.
Yep. And if you love physics, like you genuinely love physics,
Yeah, if you love physics.
it's gonna be a lot of fun for you.
Okay, but I hate physics, and I still like this book.
Okay, good.
Just
Okay.
like to
So
put it
you
out
get
there.
everyone.
Physics was a subject I was happy to take, and I enjoyed learning about it while I was taking it, but I would not take it again.
Yeah, exactly. Like my professor was amazing, but I would never take physics willingly ever again.
I feel like physics teachers have to be amazing, otherwise nobody would ever want to continue doing physics.
Right.
Yep.
Ideally.
Okay. Should we go
Cool.
into spoilers? I feel like everything we want to say is on the other side of the
Yeah,
spoiler line for this one.
It kind of
Okay. So if you don't want this book spoiled, then get out of here. But somebody just joined as I said, get out of here. It wasn't you.
Let us know in the comments what you guys think as well, what you
Yeah.
ended up rating it, and what your thoughts are as we go along. If you differ,
Yeah, I feel like there's
Yes.
heavy mixed opinions on what people
Yes.
thought about this one.
I didn't realize until now how polarizing this book could be.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay. Spoilers now.
Great.
100% spoilers now.
So Rocky made this book.
Yeah.
Oh,
This
yes.
is like at its core.
Yes.
This is first contact sci-fi.
Yeah.
Like more than
Yes.
anything else, this is first
Yes.
contact sci-fi.
I was not expecting that.
No, me neither. I didn't know it was at all.
On multiple levels. which is why it makes total sense that no one is able to explain this book without spoiling it.
Yes,
Mhm.
definitely.
Yes,
Yeah.
Rocky.
Exactly.
It made me
Yeah.
so emotional. Rocky had me tearing,
Yes.
and I was like,
Rocky is good, good, good.
Yeah, when we're reading, I was really sad. I was like, is it just gonna be him the whole book? Because I was like, I'm not feeling this right now. And then Rocky came, and I was like, yes.
It's like I was enjoying. I already forget his name, Grace or whatever.
Mm.
Mhm.
But it just like I was enjoying him, but I'm like, yeah, this is basic. And then
And-
Rocky came, and I'm like, was
Yeah.
this good?
So,
So, what's your beef, Steph?
oh, I have
Yeah.
so much beef. I have so much. It was like a roller coaster. It was like when we were in the ship and we were solving problems and we were communicating with Rocky and everything was just Rocky. It was like, oh
Yeah.
my god, I love this.
It
And the
was so
moment
good.
we went back to Earth and we were talking about people, it was just like, why are we here? Please stop talking. I don't care. Because it was so stereotypical on so many different levels.
Mhm.
And I just didn't like the way that the stereotypes were enforced. And it's like okay, we have one woman in power and she's like power tripping and there's comments made about her gender and how she's the only woman in power and she must be like this way and she's enforced that way because of decisions that she's made, but they're decisions that any woman makes, so what the heck does it have to do with her gender? It has nothing to do with that, but it keeps getting brought up.
Mhm.
And how did they like simultaneously diss teachers but then also romanticize teachers in the same book? I was I was like
I felt
very
the
heated.
same way, especially as like going into like a science teacher job. I was like, man, I love this. He's a teacher. It's like, ooh, but I feel also like targeted at the same time.
Yeah, because it was like in the beginning. So the notion irks my nerve that everyone's like, oh yeah, well if you can't be a professional, what you do, just become a teacher. It's so easy, and it's like you have no idea.
Yeah,
No, that is
that's
not
kind
true.
of bad.
And it happened multiple times. So it's like the main character, enforced that himself when he was like, yeah, I gave up science, so now I'm just a teacher, and it's great. I'm like, that's
He
not
did that at the
accurate.
end of The Martian as well, didn't he?
He did,
Yeah.
and which becomes a reflection of the author when it happens in multiple books. So that's just and then also when the main I forget her name, Strat, is that her name?
Strat.
The
Yeah.
lead of the whole program, when she was like, oh yeah, you thought I brought you here, you're just a science teacher, and he goes, oh good point. I'm like, thanks, okay. But at the end of the book he ends up being a teacher to aliens and it's romantic and sweet, and I'm like, okay, which one do you want me to feel? I don't know. You just insulted me. I'm not like,
I didn't even think about that. The whole book, I
Yeah.
was like, the beginning of the book, I was like, yo, this is the coolest teacher ever. Can I have him like in middle school as my science teacher?
yeah,
Maybe we
it's a,
didn't pick up on that because we weren't teachers.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe. But I see
I
I
also
see what you mean. I see
haven't
what
read
you
the
mean.
Mark.
I know. I just said I see what Steph means.
Yeah, I see it now too.
yeah.
I
Not
haven't read the
saying that
Martian
like,
either, so
oh
I
my
can read
gosh,
it
it is like this, so you'd probably like it.
now.
It's a lot like this one.
It's the same like style.
Mhm,
Okay.
mhm. So I'm not saying that like teaching is bad. Obviously, me and Jess are teachers because we love it, but it's like he just made it sound like it's roller coaster easy and it's like the easiest job in the world, and that's why
Yeah.
anyone would choose to do it. And that is such
Yeah.
an old, completely inaccurate stereotype that I was like,
Mhm.
um, so that's one. I'm sorry, I'm gonna like rip this.
No, that's fine.
Hey, it's
We want to
fine.
hear
No,
it. We
do
want to hear it.
it.
Okay. And then what else? Yeah, the whole Rocky gendering thing, which he answered his own question and then still chose to go along with that. And he's like, haha, I'm woke. And I'm like, no, you're not. No. Stop.
I feel like it would have been so easy to leave out that one sentence and for the book to be fine. Like if he had like
Well,
assigned Rocky a he, but then not explained it at all, then I could have fully got behind it. But the fact
well,
that he put that little
Yeah.
explanation in,
yeah. Well, even that, and then after that, I think it was a couple chapters later where he learns about what about how their society doesn't have gender and what their actual cycle is like. And from there, he's like, yeah, I'm just going to keep calling him a he. Like, all right, so you're doubling down on your decision because
But then does it make it so to them though, to the Iridians, there is no such thing as gender.
right. So he's only applying it to himself. So he's reinforcing his own worldview.
I feel like, is it a reflection of Andy Weir or is it Rylan? Is it Grace?
That's a great question.
Because if it's Grace, I could understand why he did it. Because
I would like to think that that was the goal, but then I feel like if I take into account the way that Strat was portrayed, of being the stereotypical female power tripping woman in power, who a woman in power can't be anything but evil because God forbid, and then there was something else too. Something about the other people. There was another character who was doubled down as like liking and talking the way that's a cis white male gendered guy would reference things. And so like combining those different aspects, each one feels like an added sentiment of when does it become the author's reflection and when is it the character. So I'm kind of leaning towards the latter, but that's just me. And also, I feel like the main character of the Grace, in conjunction with the main character from The Martian, could have easily been switched out, and it would have been the same
100%.
story.
Yeah.
So, I saw someone put in the Discord something about like, is this a fanfic? I was like, oh, that's a good point.
I feel like it's the author just writing for themselves and not an audience.
And there's nothing wrong with that. But if you're writing for yourself, you're also putting your own views into it. So. Potentially.
Max doesn't sound convinced.
I don't know. I would like to think. I always want to think it's not a reflection of the author because I don't want people to be horrible people.
Right.
I don't think it makes them horrible people because everyone has the potential to learn and grow.
Yeah.
So like even if someone makes a mistake, they don't. Ideally, we would hope if that person's open to learning that they wouldn't stay in that space. But again, he's writing it for himself and he's kind of reflecting the characters off of himself and his enjoyments. Then why be challenged?
True.
But the science was so cool, you
The
guys.
science was really good. Yeah.
It was so cool. I was thriving. I loved it. I loved it. Does anyone think this could have been a little shorter?
I think we could have had less flashbacks.
Yeah.
And that would
I
have
could have
made it
done
like a
without
more
one or
compact.
two of them.
Yeah.
If it was in like 3 parts and each part had a flashback in front of it, then I feel like that could have worked better.
I like that.
Yeah, the last few flashbacks, I feel like I knew where it was gonna go. So I was like,
Yeah.
I feel like at a certain point, maybe like around 80%, he was just kind of trying to fill any potential loopholes that anyone might have found. Like when we got to the scene where the Tau amoeba made its way through the Xenonite. Like, I feel like, to me, when certain things stick out, and you're like, okay, this was definitely a conversation between the author and the editor saying, fill these holes before a fan comes back and say, this is not technically possible.
There felt like there was a lot crammed into like the last 30, 40 pages. Like a lot.
Oh, put all this in so no one can say anything. Done.
I think the bit I liked best was when they were like initially when the two of them met and they were trying to like make a language that meshed together. That was probably like the most interesting bit. It had
Total
like big
Arrival vibes.
Arrival vibes, exactly. Yeah.
I love it so much. God, it's so good. When he almost died, I was like, "Man."
Oh my gosh, yeah. I was like, if he dies right now, halfway through the book, no.
It's over. I actually like that he didn't go back to Earth.
Me too.
Yeah.
I like it a lot. He's so good. They're so accommodating to him, and I love them so much. Yeah.
Mm.
What else? What other things did we like?
Um,
Just everything Rocky.
I feel like despite all the science in it, this is like a very A to B, not very multifaceted, very simple book. And I feel like that's the thing that makes it accessible. But also, it's like, what do we talk about? Like this is like a ride. Like when you go to the theme park and there's all the fun rides, and then there's just a ride where it's like a boat in a little river where you go down it and you see stuff, and it's like that was great, but like one and done.
Speaking of one and done style, okay, what is it with Andy Weir being obsessed with making people have to suffer through eating the same meal for the rest of their lives? Like,
Yeah, is this like a reflection of some traumatic experience that he's had?
so I mean, if he's basically writing it for himself, did he kind of go through a thing where he's like, I only have carrots?
I wonder if
For
he was
5
in the
years?
military.
He could have been.
Maybe. Or maybe he was in prison.
I love that.
He may have been. He's really quick with the very bland food descriptions.
Yeah, just
And
potatoes and
ultimatums.
ketchup. Potatoes and ketchup.
Ketchup.
Yeah, I hadn't even thought about that until you just said that. But
Yeah.
it's totally true.
He's like, oh, what is something that he would have to eat forever that would be so unsatisfying? I know. Dead amoebas.
Yum. Oh, and at the end, how he's eating
No,
like
he's
burgers of his own flesh.
of his own. Yeah,
What's up
I
with
don't know. That was interesting.
Yes.
I thought you couldn't eat human flesh, otherwise you get like a neuro disease.
Well, he wasn't. Didn't they say that they cloned it and then turned it into meat? So it may not have necessarily. Can you make other kinds of meat out of one? Cloning is another type of meat?
Like from a different animal?
Yeah, like can I
No,
take
because
a
the
sheep
DNA
clone
would
and
need
make
to
a
be
chicken?
different. No, I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I'm 99.9% sure no. Like
No.
straight up no.
No. So then, yeah, that wouldn't make sense.
Yeah.
The opposite of George R. R. Martin. Oh my god. Yeah. Oh, I have notes.
It felt kind of like another thing this really had vibes similar to was, I don't know if you've ever read it. It's like a classic sci-fi called The Mote in God's Eye.
No.
It's really good. But like it's a really similar vibe to this one. It's like a first contact story again. I feel like if you talk about first contact, it's something it sounds very formulaic, like you wouldn't be able to do a lot with it. But I feel like there's a lot that can be done.
Yeah. Yeah. I would have been honestly, like, I was interested in enough in the astrophage by itself as a first
Yeah.
contact. But I don't know that I would have rated it as high because then Rocky would have been there.
Yeah.
But that concept by itself. So when we had a second alien come in, I was like, oh, we're going all the way. Go. Okay.
I do wonder, there was one bit in it which I wondered if it was a reference to Arrival or if it was referencing the same thing that Arrival did.
In
Because
the learning each other's language part?
when he goes back into the thing to get his computer to start transcribing the sounds, he says they have to stop doing this Abbott and Costello routine.
Oh.
And
Oh,
Abbott and
that's
Costello
right.
are what
Abbott
they
and
call the two aliens in
Yeah.
Arrival.
Yeah, that's
But I
true.
don't know if they were called that because they were referencing something else.
I forgot about that.
Could have been.
Isn't it? I feel
I
like
mean,
Arrival was like the peak of first
it is.
contact stuff.
It is.
Like you're never gonna beat that.
But then again, Abbott and Costello is so old. I'm pretty
Mhm.
sure it might be in the public domain at this point. That it's kind of just more of a euphemism than anything else.
Maybe.
Um, would you have gone back?
For Rocky, I would have died for Rocky.
Yes.
100%.
Rocky
Wow.
Stan account.
Yeah.
Honestly, started Twitter and everything just for Rocky.
But would
I
you
feel
have
like
gone?
none of the fan art that I've seen has like captured how I imagined him to look though.
Mm. You know what I kind of thought he looked like for a second?
What?
You know in the Dune movie, in the recent one, they had that like spider thing?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I kind of imagined him like that
Okay.
in a way.
I kind of imagined him more like a starfish.
Oh, okay.
See that?
But...
Oh
Oh,
no! No! Come back! But I feel
I
like
thought
he
it would
picked
have
up the
been.
language really quick.
He did pick up the language
He
really quick.
did.
It makes
He
me
did a
wonder
lot of-
how quickly, how much time passed. Do we know how much time passed?
I mean, on a rough estimate, I think when they started the mission, I think he said they only had enough food for about several months, right? So it had to be, and then plus he had extra food when he got, you're back! After the whole excursion, and he ends up going back to Arid. He still has like 1 or 2 months of food left, so I think the whole book takes place over 4 or 5 months.
Yeah.
Which I feel like, considering that Arrival, would it take them like months to
They
1
were
or
at
2
it for
years
ages.
to get a language? And he's like, yeah, it's been a week and I don't even need the computer. I can speak fluent. I don't know.
I wonder how quickly like humans are capable of picking up something through immersion. Because they say like immersion learning is the best way to learn languages. Just be dumped somewhere and figure it
I
out.
mean, it is, but it's still very challenging. I mean,
Yeah,
I
especially if you can't speak it, just have
Yeah.
to listen to it.
I mean, just I don't know if you can work with also ELL students, but I work with a lot of students who are just learning English, and it takes them a long time. Even if at full immersion, it's challenging.
Yeah, I don't work directly with any students, but just like being like hearing from teachers with who have those kinds of students, and just hearing their perspectives on it, like it's just so interesting that. And it's just thinking about it too, where I never had to be put in a situation like that. Even when I've traveled to like foreign countries, it's always been I've been pretty easily able to get along. And so yeah, it's interesting, and I want to seek that out more and get those experiences more. So yeah.
I would say on average, just to get to a point where there's a certain level of comfortability with minimal like additional dictation, I'd say like 2 years. But that's just my experience. So it's like I did it in 7 days.
Maybe he's just a genius.
See, that's the part that gets me too, because then that's also very stereotypical. It's like, here's the perfect person, and he's a super genius, and he didn't want to be here. He's a reluctant hero.
I really thought, like, considering how science heavy this book was, that it was going to be the science that was divisive, but that's the bit that everybody loves.
I fell down a rabbit hole of studying neutrinos somewhere in the middle of the book. It was great. It was fantastic.
Oh, nice. That's cool.
So no, it wasn't the science.
Science is amazing.
The one thing I really did like was that the alien looked like that and was so completely inhuman.
I was not expecting a spider because spiders freak me out, but I still love Rocky, so I don't know.
I think it's interesting as well that he chose to make it look like that, because there's like general agreement that radial symmetry is much easier to genetically code for than bilateral symmetry.
Mhm.
So like making something that has two halves that are the same is quite hard. But like if you want to make an animal that looks the same, like a carousel in every direction, like you can program that pretty easily, I think.
Isn't there something to do? I don't know what the correct terminology is, but something to do with the likelihood of evolution favoring like crustaceans or something. What's that word? Do you know what I'm talking about?
It like tingles my brain, but I
Right.
don't know what it's called.
Something to do with crabs.
Oh, the fact that like the crab is like the perfect body plan and everything will
Yeah.
eventually become a crab.
Yeah, there's
Yes.
a word for that though. I think it starts with a T. And so when they were talking about how like Earth life and Iridian life potentially started from the same like interstellar spawning cycle, like of course it'd be a crab. What else would it be? I don't know. I'm gonna look it up now. There's a word.
But yeah, we like the science. We're here for the science.
I was too into the Rocky fan art, and I accidentally. That's why I left. I accidentally clicked I deleted my screen because I was looking at the Rocky fan art. I'm like, oh, I gotta get back, and then nope, just press the exit, not the go back to this tab.
Carcinization.
Oh,
It
okay.
sounds like it sounds like carcinogen, but it's spelled differently. An example of
Carcinus
convergent.
is just the Greek word for crab. Yeah.
Yes. Convergent evolution in which a crustacean evolves into a crab-like form from a non-crab-like form.
Oh, so it's just crustaceans that do it.
Um, yeah. No, but there's something else. No, watch it come to me after, and then I'll drop it in the Discord. There's something else. I remember learning about this on the Discovery Channel.
Was this like during the crab along where everybody was like crab crazy?
I think so. But it's something to do with like in the beginning formings of evolution, there being like two branches, and that one brought in like crustaceans and anything with like an arachnid form, and then the other went the other way, and then I'll find the
Took
word.
an evolution class, and I feel like I know what you're talking about.
Right.
I don't know the name.
It's just a crabby decade. We're gonna have crabs forever. It's fine.
We can never escape.
I've never escaped. No, we still got lobsters and everything. It's fine. Yeah, he figured everything was like, I don't know. I feel like everything was so perfect that when things were going bad, I was like, yeah, but they're not going to go that bad.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's Andy Weir. Everything's going to be fine.
I feel like I really like his writing, but yay!
Natalie, you already missed my 10 minutes of going off, but it's fine.
Steph went crazy.
What were you going to say, Max?
What was I gonna say? Yeah, like I feel like Andy Weir is a good writer, but so far we've seen zero variety from him at all. So I'm like, if you're only 3 books into your career, like let's see what else you can do. You know what I mean?
Wait, what else did he write besides The Martian?
The
one called the
Artemis something.
I'm glad I haven't read any of his other books before this, because I feel like that would have affected my rating.
Yeah. Actually, speaking of which, I heard a lot of discourse about the Artemis one, which is why I didn't pick it up, because I believe something about
I heard a lot of stuff about it as well.
Yeah, about the way that the main character, who's a female, and I think she's Muslim, or there's a Muslim character in there, that there's discourse that he didn't write them well. So I'm just like, things are happening, but that's okay.
It did.
Yes, we love it. Looks so good.
Thanks.
It looks so good. So for everyone who just got here, we ranted for 10 minutes, and then we screamed that we love Rocky and that we love the science and that crabs are taking over the world, and it's completely fine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's it basically. Yeah.
Yeah. Been a good discussion.
Do we want to reiterate our scores?
Oh yeah, it was
Got here.
5 from everyone and 4 from Steph.
Mhm.
You know, the Artemis like broke a huge record for like a movie deal thing.
Oh, did it really?
Yeah, so
When is the movie
basically
coming?
I'm not sure, but like when The Martian came out, it got like 6 months between the book coming out and the
Yep.
movie being released, so it was like such a short time. And then as soon as he announced the Artemis, like within the day, just based on The Martian, a studio was like, "I'm buying the rights." Like he announced it, he hadn't even started writing it, right?
Oh wow.
And it was like I think it was a record for the fastest something's ever had the movie rights bought.
Good for him. Okay. I get it. No, this is easily going to be turned into a movie, which I think we said already.
Yeah.
Very
Hopefully they'll
action-packed.
improve stuff.
Will they?
No,
No,
Yeah, that's what
maybe
usually
they
happens.
will.
I don't know.
I hope so.
I would hope so.
Okay. So I looked it up real quick, and Ryan Gosling is going to be Grace.
Of course he
Ryan
is.
Gosling.
What a
Oh
terrible choice.
wow! They already planned
Wow.
on it already.
Yep.
I don't know how I feel about that.
I feel like they're gonna try and make it into like a comedy film. Then.
Yeah, he's not a very funny guy. He's very bland.
Yeah.
He's very bland. Yes.
Who would you cast?
Ooh.
Steph, you look so annoyed.
I am. I feel like I don't like these characters. I'm sorry. I don't want to give it to anybody that I like.
Fair enough.
Like I don't want to make them look bad. This industry can really be trusted to improve things.
Yeah.
See, I feel like they would just go for accuracy.
to be fair.
Yeah, they would be so focused on ensuring that the science aspect is fine that they would not fix any of the character flaws. And so we get Ryan Gosling. Ben Affleck, who I don't like, might be there. It's fine. I don't like Ben Affleck.
I guess they did already get his buddy Matt Damon to be in The Martian, so
Yeah,
we just gotta throw Affleck in there too.
I feel like you could use Mark Wahlberg because him and Matt Damon are like totally interchangeable.
Yeah, Mark Wahlberg. Oh, you know what? That would make perfect sense because Mark Wahlberg has Wahlburgers. And so the end of the movie could be a plug for Wahlburgers.
Oh my god.
Oh
Should be
my
in marketing.
gosh! Yo, no.
So for anyone who is here for like, we're in full spoilers, by the way. So we're talking about how at the end of the book, the only food he has left after eating plain amoeba porridge for like a year or two is cloned meat of himself. And he's like, these burgers are great. So you can have Mark Wahlberg. Great. I heard they're really good burgers though.
Would you
They
eat a
are.
Mark Wahlburger?
Would I eat a Mark Wahlburger?
Yeah.
I mean, I know a bunch of people who have. Jessa, did you?
I have, yes.
Okay.
They are good.
Okay.
But I'm also very easy to please, so
Is it a chain or is it just? I think it's just the one restaurant, but I could be wrong.
I think there's a few like around.
Okay.
Never had.
They better not take this deal and not give me credit for it. I swear.
Yeah, this is like,
Sue
like
them.
entrenched on YouTube. This is proof. You were here first.
Okay, so would you guys have gone back into the coma or not? Or would you have ridden out the 5-year journey and risked the psychosis?
Considering he had a library of like every book ever written on his ship, I feel like I could have done it.
Valid.
Yeah.
Valid.
Yeah, I don't think I would risk the coma again.
Imagine
Two
though.
of them didn't survive.
Yeah.
Imagine if you're awake that whole time, how bad the ship would smell when they opened it at the other end.
God. Isn't that what happens in what's the one movie with what's his name? And he goes to Saturn twice. Brad Pitt.
Oh, Ad Astra.
Ad Astra. Didn't he like
Yeah.
stink or something like that?
Yeah, they opened the ship and everybody's like, "What?"
to the
Yeah,
end.
if they had like a movie library on there,
Yeah.
that would be
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah. So I don't think the one thing they didn't explain, right, if I'm not mistaken, was why the coma didn't work for the other two.
I think they did a bit right at the start, but it was one of those like one line throwaway things where it's like the gene gives you resistance to being in a coma, but not immunity. So there's like still a chance that it'll fuck up and be terrible.
Gotcha. Makes perfect sense. Yeah. Also, I don't know that the entire scene where Strat is in the court and fighting against the copyright lawsuit. I don't think that was necessary.
No, it wasn't. Not at all.
It was even something I thought about, like
Yeah.
that would be a problem.
I think once she established that she had backings of all the governments, it's like, okay, so you are the ruler of Earth. Do what you want.
I feel like it could have even been more interesting if the flashbacks were to like the apocalyptic extinction period happening after he left, like as of like the world slowly devolving into chaos.
That would have been cool.
I kind of wanted to know what was happening on Earth.
Yeah.
I would have wanted to know what happened to Strat and the other guy who basically nuked the North Pole. Like, did they end up going to jail? What was the repercussions of that? How was
that was the only scene from the flashback that I really liked, with that climate science guy just like breaking down and crying.
Yeah, that was heavy.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. But yeah. And also there's what's with him, like, this is my teacher brain. All right. He doesn't curse, right? He's always like, oh gosh, darn, golly gee willikers. It's like, dude, when I'm him and I'm not at school, I don't talk like that. I don't like embody that. Like, get out of my way. Like, it's not. This whole, I really feel like this book kind of like tried to just use whatever the stereotypical societal norm of like a teacher is supposed to be this perfect person all the time and they always do the right thing, and they're like no, I'm a person. I'm gonna be a person.
Yeah.
And then don't insult me. I'm still salty. I'm very salty. No matter how cute that end scene was, because he was teaching the little baby.
That end scene was so cute.
I like that he was teaching them with a piano as well. That was adorable. Yeah.
But again, it's cute because there's baby Rockies.
That's cute.
Yeah, with the like all the tropes and everything, and the lack of swearing, and the nice, friendly, shiny people, it was like he'd gone like, how can I write the perfect sci-fi book that everybody will love and will be a great film? Yeah.
He wrote it. It feels like he wrote it for the screen.
Definitely. Yeah.
I am curious what the long-term effects of being under that like 1.5 Gs is on his mind. Like, doesn't the mind just, because I know that they were talking about how the system that was there, the medical system, was like pumping different fluids and exercising his body for him while he was in the coma, so he can like maintain his body function. But his mind is still under a lot of pressure. So shouldn't that have like had some side effect? Some mushing was happening.
I don't know. I was not clear at the very, very end how he was living on a planet that was 20 Gs.
They made that's weird. They made a habitat for him.
Yeah, but how do you negate gravity?
No, like you can add gravity, but to reduce it on the surface of a planet where it's already at a certain level.
Yeah. Unless he was living in like oxygen saturated fluid. But he wasn't. Like, he was just walking around. Yeah, I feel like 20 Gs, he wouldn't even be able to move at all.
He would have been squished.
Yeah, like humans can survive like I think 6 or 8 is the
At
record
most, I think.
at most, and that was for like 5 seconds.
How many? I'm thinking about like if you've ever seen. Is it The Abyss?
I
Where he
love that
goes
film.
deep into the ocean, and then he's got
Yeah.
all the pressure, and I think they were like at a certain point, his mind was about to explode, and I think it was way less than 20 Gs or something like that.
I think that was because he gets the bends,
Yeah.
Hmm.
because you get like nitrogen poisoning and like nitrogen bubbles in your brain.
hmm
But yeah,
Moral of the story is nitrogen is bad.
yeah, that's like the main theme of the book.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Nitrogen kills all.
Everything.
Sorry, there's like random people behind me. Has a tube. Oh my god, that sounded so painful when he first woke up from the coma.
Mm-mm.
Stronger than I.
I was literally like just like screaming like.
Lovely.
Gross. Nasty.
Hmm.
I'm still trying to think who I would want instead of Ryan Gosling. Like I've been thinking about that like this whole time.
Give someone else a chance. Give someone new an opportunity. That's what I'm saying.
I can wrap my head around the one piece of like relativity science he was telling Rocky about, where you're decelerating but the planet's getting further away.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? I had to like
Yes.
look up so much stuff to
Yeah.
understand how that worked at all.
Same. I was online for at least like an hour. Like somebody break this down for me. um, and he actually, he caught up with Rocky really fast. Like when he went back to look for him,
Yeah.
there were a lot of points in the book where it just felt very convenient. And like a lot of convenience was made. Like yes, he's answering all the questions, and yes, he's working through all the steps. But the probability of these things happening, and he found him dead in the
Space
water.
is big.
Big. He's like, oh yeah, I only have like 20 trillion acres to scavenge. Like, dude, what?
So this is like superhero main character again.
Yeah. But that goes back to it being super tropey, and it's just like, meh.
Yeah, it's kind of cheesy. Like when you think about it all as one thing, it's cheesy sci-fi.
But it was also just like, oh, science. Mm-hmm.
I went on like a big relativity tangent with this book. I had to do. Went on like a big relativity tangent with this book, and I was looking up so much stuff. I come up with a relativity question that I cannot find anybody having posted an answer to anywhere, which is interesting.
Ask the question.
So you know how you can entangle two atoms together, and then when you spin one, the other one spins. Right. So you entangle two atoms. What happens when you put one on a ship that goes at light speed and you spin them? Because one is experiencing time at a different rate.
Great question.
If anybody's watching this and they're a physics teacher,
let us know.
Leave a comment.
That's a great
because
question.
I'm really curious.
I don't know. Don't know the answer to that question. Would they still interact, or would that change? Would that eventually like cut off at a certain distance? Dun dun dun.
Ba-ba-ba.
What do the forums tell you?
Oh, nothing.
Nothing.
Absolutely nothing. Yeah.
No. All I remember is that in the first like chapter of Neil deGrasse Tyson's book Black Holes and Other Cosmic Quandaries, he goes,
Oh yeah.
if you're studying quantum physics and your mind is not hurting, then you're not doing it right. So your brain should hurt.
My philosophy professor said the same thing to us. They're like, if you were writing your essay and your brain didn't hurt, I mean, if your brain hurt, that means you were doing it
Good
right.
job.
I was like,
Yes.
hey.
But speaking of which, so I feel like Grace was really good at everything. Like he kept trying to say, "Oh, but I'm just a scientist and I'm just a biologist
He
and
was
whatever."
so
But
smart.
he was good at everything though, and that I'm just like, come on, dude. You're
I
good at
thought he was
everything. You're a little
just
too
salty
perfect.
that nobody believed in his theories, so he like, I quit.
Yeah, that's and also that pissed me off. Like, dude, okay, but he wrote that in what, his graduate studies? He wrote that paper. I mean, most people's graduate paper doesn't go anywhere. He even said it
Right.
himself about, was it the Anne Shapiro character who's like, oh my god, her graduate paper worked out. I'm not salty. Just like, dude, yes you are.
I feel like when you're a published scientist, a peer-reviewed scientist, 90% of your life is people telling you that you're an idiot.
Mhm.
Like other people that really want to be right telling you that you are not right.
Mm.
It's like you're in the wrong field if you cannot handle criticism.
Right,
Mhm.
right. And then he's like, I'm gonna just be a teacher. Like, dude, there's criticism there too, bro. Like, 10.
Kids can be harsh, man.
Yeah, it's like they attack you personally.
Yeah. But
Um,
also, if there were Rocky plushies, I feel like that would be really cute.
Yeah.
we can totally get a
Oh,
Rocky
absolutely
plushie.
get one.
Yes, I want one. We love Rocky. Mhm. The scene where he thinks he's helping Rocky, but then he actually
Oh
thinks
my
he's hurting
god.
him.
Yeah.
Every time Rocky called him stupid, I was like, yes, yes, tell him. Have you seen the? Have you seen the SpongeBob? Not SpongeBob. Sesame Street thing with Elmo telling the other character that Rocco is just a rock.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh my god! Totally gave me that.
Hello,
Rocco's
Rocco.
just a rock. Rocco's not alive. It's like Rocky is alive.
I wonder how they do it as a movie. Like, I wonder if it's going to be like Rocky speaking Rocky language with like subtitles, or whether he's going to be speaking through a computer that translate, and there'll be a voice actor for Rocky.
That would be great. Like if we got more subtitles as Grace learns the language, but then that would only take 5 minutes because he learns the language in a week. Because like, why isn't he not a polyglot? I don't know. Because he's lazy. He's also
Yeah.
lazy with everything else. I'm sorry, I'm salty. Like, how are you like a superhero who's also like super lazy? I can't. Are because they haven't developed a filter, Michael.
It's just not there yet.
Anything else that we want to add that we haven't said yet?
I don't, I hate saying it about anything I read, but like I don't think this book was that deep.
No.
Yeah, no.
So I feel like thinking of things to say about the book that is a very surface level, basically just a movie script,
Yeah.
is difficult. But yeah.
I think that's a really great assessment. Like,
Mhm.
because this book was so science heavy and there was a lot of like self explanation and covering all bases, that I think that goes into what we were talking about earlier about there's no deeper development of character and like morality, and everything is backed up by like, yeah, this is wrong, but we're going to do it. And it's like, okay, well, people are naturally going to have different reactions, but they're not really
Yeah.
uncovered at anything more than a surface level.
Mhm.
So how deep can we really go?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is like a difficult. This is more hard than I thought it would be to dive into and pull apart.
Mhm.
Because like, what is there to pull apart? I feel like the book was entirely in defense of itself. Is that safe to say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you guys want to go bungee jumping in space?
Oh heck yeah.
I would absolutely go bungee jumping in space.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So fun.
I might like piss my pants, but it'd be awesome.
Would you, if you had qualified for it, would you have gone on the original mission knowing it was a suicide mission?
I mean, if we were qualified,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I would like to say that I would want to say yes, in hopes of everything being better, but like, I really don't know.
I don't know.
I'd probably chicken out and say no.
Actually, speaking of which, I feel like there's no reason that they couldn't get that other girl.
Yeah.
That was completely that I feel like that excuse as to what they had to do to force Grace onto the ship because you're the only person and we couldn't that's not a good excuse to me because they could have just easily she would have had time when they got there
Yeah.
to be able to learn everything, and it's not like she's a completely unaccomplished. She has pretty much the same credentials that he does. It's just that she doesn't have the information about astrophage. But since astrophage was discovered and he made all of those findings, they shared that data with the other scientists from the other governments, and they were all eventually on the same page. Right.
Yeah.
So there's no reason why they couldn't just upload files and videos on a flash drive and be like, here, when you wake up, study this for 2 days.
But is that whole thing just playing back into Strat being on a power trip?
Well, yes, and they also showed her as being sexist. So, and because the other candidate was a woman.
Oh yeah, that was a weird explanation, wasn't it?
Right.
Where they were like, we only want heterosexual men on this spaceship.
Yeah.
No. And even though Grace supposedly tried to call her out for it, he's like, oh my gosh, that is sexist. It's like, okay, but she's done it multiple times throughout the book.
Was that like him calling her out, just the author being like, see, I do know things.
That's how it felt. That's how it felt to me. It's like, I am not a sexist because look, I had my main character call her out on a one-liner, but she was sexist on multiple occasions. And
That's like I'm not racist, I have a black friend vibes.
Yep.
yes, that's how it felt.
That's exactly that same vibe.
Yeah. Which is why it is not a 5. I'm sorry. Yeah. That's for me. Yeah, that whole scene, and then okay.
No, I was just saying I might drop my 5 to a 4. Now that I'm
Yeah,
thinking
I
about
feel
it.
like after our discussion, I'm like, because I feel like I audiobooked this book like all of today, so there's a lot of things that like didn't go into the brain.
And then what was with the whole like telling them about their relationships scene?
That was so
Oh yeah,
awkward.
that was weird, wasn't
I
it?
was like,
And why was he talking like that? That guy.
Yeah.
It's like, just so you know, we are engaging in sexual conduct.
yeah.
It's like,
And then like they were gonna start the meeting, and she was like, "Hold up! Oh, we have a 15-minute break. We're gonna go bang after this."
yeah.
Why-
in like
why
the
is-
flashbacks, there was a lot of it that didn't need to be there.
I felt like they were trying to potentially throw us off because at a certain point, once we knew what that about the backup crew, it was kind of obvious that something was going to happen to the main crew, which is why Grace was there. And so I was like, oh no, is the ship going to blow up? Are we going to have like a Challenger situation? But yeah, no.
I was kind of anticipating the Challenger thing as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the flashback thing, it was like I didn't think about it until you brought it up about how like after the coma, wouldn't his brain be like a little mushed? And I was like, oh yeah, his brain was he only like lost his memory because they like gave him some drug that made him lose his memory. And I was like, I totally forgot about that.
Yeah.
So it's like,
And then also they said something about like I don't know. It didn't sit right with me about when the couple died, because Strat was making such a conscious effort to make sure that they were never in the same place together during any um, like any convoys or anything
Yeah.
that is potentially dangerous, and they just happen to be doing a really
Oh
specific
yeah.
dangerous thing together, that they're both really accomplished multi-degree scientists, and they knew the risks, but they took that risk because why? So the backup
That's
and him were
true.
there, and it's like, that's kind of going against everything that they've established up until this point.
Hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. It felt plot convenience.
Yeah, there was a lot of convenience in this.
Convenience.
A lot of convenience.
But you know what would have made this book really cool if we had illustrations.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got the rocket, but that was all we got, and I was like,
Yeah.
Illustrations. I want
I
to
wish
see
we got more.
Adrian. Speaking of which, Rocky got Adrian back. I love that for him. Such a good
Rocky carried this whole experience.
Mm-hmm.
100%.
He did. Love that. Cool.
But yeah, not that deep.
Eh,
yeah,
Really.
no.
Yeah.
I'm glad we had this
Surface level.
discussion though.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
and
That
I'm
is-
okay with it not being like super deep. I think what I really enjoyed about it was the science aspect of it, and so that's why I just still have it like so high, just because it was enjoyable. I already had to do a lot of thinking, science wise, so I'm glad that I didn't have to think as much like deep wise. So
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Mm,
It's a very easy to read book.
Hmm.
mhm.
I think if this would have been all present tense science and no flashbacks, I would have given it 5 stars.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know if I have anything else to say. Do you guys? Have
No, I think that's it. Yeah.
Oh, if anybody does want to read this, the audiobook, like the alien parts, it is like they make like musical notes in the audiobook.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Cute.
But,
It doesn't
cute.
sound like whales.
I don't know about that, but it's only for like the parts that are written in the alien language. But yeah.
Love
Do
it.
we want to talk about what we're reading next month?
Yeah.
Because
Yes, I have the summary up here. Hopefully, I don't accidentally click myself out again. Okay.
so it's going to be on Jess's channel,
Yes.
everybody.
So it is the Kaju Preservation Society, and the description, the synopsis of it, is when COVID-19 sweeps through New York City, Jamie Gray is stuck as a dead-end driver for food delivery apps. That is until Jamie makes a delivery to an old acquaintance, Tom, who works at what he calls an animal rights organization. Tom's team needs a last-minute grunt to handle things on their next field visit. Jamie, eager to do anything, immediately signs on. What Tom doesn't tell Jamie is that the animals his team cares for are not here on Earth. Not our Earth, at least. In an alternate dimension, massive dinosaur-like creatures named Kaju roam a warm and human-free world. They're the universe's largest and most dangerous panda, and they're in trouble. It's not just the Kaju Preservation Society that's found its way to the alternate world. Others have too, and their carelessness could cause millions back on our Earth to die.
I'm ready for some giant monster action.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we had giant robots. Now we need giant monsters. So excited.
I feel like both of those, this Iron Widow and this one together, is just Pacific Rim.
Yes. Speaking of which, I saw there's a lot of billboards in my area for audiobooks, mostly Audible, and there's something that said Pacific Rim meets The Walking Dead. I think
What?
it's called Winter something. Winter Soldier or Winter something. I don't know, but I was like, oh, yes.
Okay. We'll do
That
some
sounds-
googling.
I
We'll
think it's
figure
a
that out.
sci-fi book, so I might throw it in the chat.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Cool.
We don't have a date set yet for this one. But we will try and make it happen in April this time.
Yeah.
We'll try. But thank you to everyone who came
Yeah.
and everyone who read it and
Thanks
let
for
us
coming
know
to
your
watch
thoughts.
this one.
Yes. And if you're here after the live show, let us know your thoughts. If you agree, you disagree, throw them all down. We want to hear it.
Yeah. Cool. So yeah, make sure you subscribe. Everybody's channel links are down below. And we'll see you next time.